Good evening, everybody. Attempt number 2. These are your candidates for the Tauranga Electorate standing for this 2023 election. But with every election, there's one thing stepping in the way, and that's your vote. And kia ora, good evening, and welcome to tonight's It's in the Ballot show. Now, just before we proceed to our candidates, we have to address some concerns that have happened today. Today, we have discussed it that we were accused of being racist from the Hamilton community. Some people have misunderstood that the principle behind It's in the Ballot is to have an individualised meet the candidates meeting. Some people took that as mean no Māori allowed. I am disgusted that you've accused our organisation of that and you're being called out. Now, I'm not going to name you on the show because I think the embarrassment yourself already being called out earlier today is enough. But next time, when you understand individualised It's in the Ballot shows are down to the electorate. The reason why we do them down to the electorate is the fact that we don't want to give voter confusions. If we're mixing up Māori roll voters, Māori roll candidates and general roll candidates, that can confuse some voters out there, and that is one of the things of our show is not to provide confusion. So if we had Māori electorate voters here where a general roll voter may go, I like to vote for them, and then come on election day, they go and vote and can't find that candidate on the ballot paper, they may accuse us of misleading. So that's the reason why we do individualised meet the candidates debates. So I hope there is some clarification on it. We have chosen to do 3 Māori electorates this election, and it's a shame we haven't actually managed so far to get those shows out. We're in the process to see if we can shift them for remote shows in the future. So that is something in there. So if that's an issue, you speak to those candidates and encourage them to appear on the show. And we're hoping to have our Waitariki one rescheduled for next week as a remote show, as we understand that, 2 candidates had to face tangies within a couple of days of the show actually going happening. So that is something I'd like to sit there and sit out there and get on the record. No, we're not racist, and individualised meet the candidates meetings are based on electorates, is based on the electorates. That is not an excuse to twist the words of our organisation to treat it as no Māoris allowed. That is Jim Crow behaviour, and we sat there and ditched that many, many years ago, and we as an organisation are not going to lower ourselves to the bottom of the barrel of that standard. So that is the bit I want to address tonight. And I've had my rant, so now let's get to our candidates this evening. Thank you for joining us. Sorry that you had to be started with that, but that had to get off our chest with that attack earlier today. So today we have 3 candidates who have decided to appear on tonight's show. So let's kick off with Larry. You get to go up first with your opening statements.
Thank you. My name is Larry Baldock, and I'm standing as an independent for the City of Tauranga, primarily because I believe we've been ignored for too long in this city by the bigger parties, particularly the National Party, who think this is a safe seat. And there are many needs here that need to be addressed. We are the 5th largest city. We host the largest port in the country, and our roads are woefully inadequate for all that freight coming through our streets. We need to see it addressed now, not in 20 years' time. Our housing needs are great. We need to see more land released for housing, all types of housing, intensive housing and suburban development. And we can't do that because these state highways that go through our city are not being brought up to current standards. So I believe as an independent candidate, I can go to Wellington. I've been there before. I was an MP 20 years ago. I've been a city councillor and recently deputy mayor. I can raise the voice for this city and make sure we get heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, next up, Christine, your opening statements.
Hello, everyone. My name's Christine Young. I'm a Chinese-born Kiwi, grew up in the Horowhenua. Now I live in Tauranga. I'm a small business owner. I'm a martial arts instructor. I believe in standing up for what's right, and I've always spoken out against what's wrong. I'm standing because I believe New Zealand is heading in the wrong direction. Values like common sense and personal responsibility are being buried under an avalanche of red tape and bureaucracy. I believe that New Zealand is expecting the government to do too much for them. The government needs to step out of the way so that we can take personal responsibility for our own lives and be the master of our own destiny. New Zealand is a country of great abundance and of potential, and I believe ACT has the policies to unlock that potential.
And just before we move on, can I ask, are you for a chance to Councillor Ellen Young for a chance?
I may be, because the Youngs and Chinese are a clan-based community, so all Youngs are related in some way.
Yeah, I do know Ellen is one of the councillors on the local council, and I didn't know about the Horowhenua connection till tonight, so it's a bit of a small world.
Live in.
Yeah.
Go live in. It has the best adventure playground. It used to be my local primary school.
Oh, that was before they moved it out to Aotearoa Road.
Yeah,
okay,
everyone should
really
stop.
showing
It's on the
some
main
time.
highway.
Okay, next up, Leon, your opening statements.
Kia ora, and first and foremost, I am Māori, so I am allowed on this show. Just I was born and raised locally here in Tauranga on a very special island called Matakana Island. I attended Tauranga Boys College, was deputy head boy at Tauranga Boys College, married to my beautiful wife of 18 years, and we have 3 beautiful children. I love the city of Tauranga. I believe Tauranga is a sleeping giant that has so much potential that I believe is not being tapped into or is being neglected. And so the reasons why I'm standing within this electorate is because I so believe that the qualities, the experience that I have working within the local electorate or with families, with communities, which is what I specialise in, I believe I have the ability to be able to lift not only the state of our city, but also the moral state of our city and our nation. Kia ora.
Thank you. And thank you to the audience for the clapping. Now, we do have a couple of apologies. Please leave the claps out there. Jen Tinetti, we have had no response until earlier today to decline. Sam Uffindell was originally confirmed to appear on It's in the Ballot, but couldn't be there. Justin Crooks, no response. Don't know what the guts is with him. Erika Harvey, we have been given a late apologies, but she sat there and said there, we've asked her on her way home to stop by to say hello. So we're fingers crossed Erika will be here. And also from Chelsea Stokman from the Animal Justice Party was a no response. And the other thing was the Electoral Commission did not deliver us any communication details to make it accessible for some of these candidates. We had to hunt in some other means to get them there. And Larry is one example of us hunting managed to successfully getting contact details. So let's kick over to the electorate video. Well, look, we do this a bit freestyle these days. We realise it's a bit easier with our tight production schedule. Okay, there we are. So the Tauranga Electorate is one of the few electorates that only has one electoral boundary with the Bay of Plenty electorate. From the south, you will see when we scroll down, it's be the suburbs of Greerton. Yep. So you've got Greerton in there. Why do scam calls have to sit there and ring me at this time of night? I do not know. Yes, I know. Apparently, broadcasting is too important to interrupt. So if we scroll into there, you'll see it's in the Tauranga CBD, and if we head out towards the north, you'll see Point Sulphur. And now, does it include some of? I think it's the island. What's the name of the island? Our candidates might have a better idea what doing it.
No, it's not included.
Oh, is there plenty? Okay, no, that's fine. No, we can sit there and do it. It's a very compact electorate, and it'll be a very interesting thing when the next electoral boundary review, what actually happens with the electorate, which is only next year. Next year they refer the boundaries. So let's get over to the questions we think you'll be asking after watching today's show. Let's bring it up on screen. Okay. Will the government be forcing Weet-Bix back onto the warehouse shelves in the name of more competition? Question number 2. Will New Zealand continue to have more competition between churches than supermarkets? Something very common in this area. And here's one I really love. Will any candidate here help promise who struggle to pronounce Te Reo Māori place names, such as saying Tauranga instead of Tauranga? So these are some of the good questions in there, and we've even decided a way of how to respell that not so correct version. So, Jill, thank you for stepping in tonight for question host. We had a little bit of our question host wasn't quite well tonight.
Sure, my pleasure.
And you've got something very unique we only found out today. What can you tell us?
In 1958, I was born at Tauranga Hospital. And when I was a little one, like a few months old, I lived at Elizabeth Street over Cameron Road. And the house obviously is now some business, I believe. So I spent my first 10 years in Tauranga. I went to Tauranga South Primary School. And very good. Well, I don't know how old Larry is, but I'm 65. What are you, Larry?
69. I was head prefect.
Oh, well, I was just a little one at that point in time, so I was 4 years younger. But we probably had the same teachers. Okay, Mrs. Shakes, was she a teacher? Oh, all sorts of, yeah. Oh, well, I'll have to relive with you after the show. So I'm kind of not a local, but I used to be 50-odd years ago, 55 years ago. Oh, no.
Okay, so let's kick off. So with the questions here, we have the questions in the boxes, and there are 28 of them there, and each candidate, one by one, will be able to pick them. Now, each candidate here has, with tonight, we have decided that each candidate's going to have 3 button cards because there's some very useful information out there, and each candidate will have 2 defer cards because, doing it, and we encourage them to defer it to the candidates who aren't here. So let's kick off first with Leon. You get to choose the first box number.
I'll go with the famous number 13.
Lovely. So we have letter H for hotel. I have done. Have we got a technology failure?
Yes, the TV wants to go put itself to sleep, and I thought I could stop it.
Oh, we're back. All right. That for the online audience, that was a little bit of a failure. Apparently, the TV wants it to go to sleep, but it's back on again. So we have the question for you, Leon. Property investors often outbid first home buyers at house auctions. How would you encourage these investors to switch to more productive investments?
Vision New Zealand, first and foremost, we do not believe in supporting foreign investors investing within the local housing market. Secondly, Kiwi land in Kiwi hands. So we're keeping it local. And we believe that creating more affordable and available housing will help with this as well. Kia ora.
Okay, Christine, what box number?
I'd like number 18, my party list number.
Okay, we have question AB, that is Alpha Bravo, question AB. So question AB is, what are you or your party going to do about the climate crisis?
Well, little known fact, ACT wants to introduce an Environmental Protection Act because we're going to scrap the Resource Management Act, and that actually has been scrapped by something more awful by David Parker and the Labour Party. But that there were two intents of the Resource Management Act that was enacted 30 years ago, and one was to protect the environment and the other was to decide what you could do in terms of urban development and stuff. So ACT wants to introduce an Environmental Protection Act, and also we want to encourage adaptability of things like waste to energy. And now the Resource Management Act is holding up this new technology in Canterbury. So it's a super new technology furnace where less stuff goes to landfill, it gets burnt up and it converts into energy without the emissions. So that's just two policies in our green policy.
Thank you so much. Larry, what box number?
Yeah, I think I'll have my birth date, 25, Te Kaumārima.
We have letter S, S for Sarah, letter S. So letter S is, the question is, my fiance and I are concerned that we will never be able to afford a property in the electorate where we grew up. What are you doing to make housing in this area affordable and accessible for first home buyers?
One of the things that I think we need to look at as a country is the reason why the Kiwi Bank was established was to be a New Zealand bank. And when I was a young boy, everybody who was buying a house bought it through a state advances loan with a 3% interest rate that was fixed for 30 years. You still get 30-year interest rate fixes in America when you buy a house. Here we throw first home buyers to the market. If they manage to get a loan, the interest rates going up will actually crush them and they'll end up selling and having to start all over again. I believe the government should put the funding behind Kiwi Bank and do this for first home buyers. Guarantee them at least 10 years fixed interest rates at low rates so they can get into the property market. It makes such a difference to their whole families. They live in the same area for longer. They go to the same schools. The kids do so much better. In Gate Pa, where I grew up, I was told by the principal there of the old school we went to that half the kids change every year because they're in rental properties, they're moving around. Get them into home ownership. Thank you.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go for number tahi, 1.
We have letter F, F for Foxtrot. The question is, current information from overseas indicates that vaping is not a healthier alternative to smoking. Children of primary school age are becoming addicted. What is your party's plan to address this health concern?
Vision New Zealand will limit the amount of stores that are able to sell vapes within New Zealand. Also, we will review the proximity of these stores in regards to or in relation to schools. There will be also a greater fine placed upon any store that is caught selling to underage, and those fines will amount to between 20,000 to 25,000. Yeah.
And those fines will not be tax deductible?
No.
Christine, let's put in your
We have a
button card.
button card.
What are primary school children doing vaping? It is already illegal to sell vapes to children under 18. So we have to ask, how are they getting the vapes? And there must be more responsibility on the parents to monitor this, and schools need to have the set boundaries and have the ability to enforce no smoking, no vaping at schools. So I think we need to look at society as a whole and our communities, what's going on here. That's completely unacceptable.
Another button card, everyone.
Yeah, this is one of the dumbest things we've ever done in the country, and it was supposed to be to help smokers get off cigarettes. I smoked when I was 14 till about 22. I used to smoke about 30 a day, and it's a terrible habit to get off, but you can. We need to make sure that only smokers are getting access to vaping if it's helping them get off. If it's not, what's the point of changing one habit to another, becoming still addicted to nicotine? And it's opened the door for young kids to get hooked on these flavoured vapes. It's just insane. And I think across the ditch, we saw Australia take some strong stands. I think we need to do the same. You get a prescription if you're a smoker, and you can get access to vaping. Otherwise, it should be not available in shops at all, in my opinion. Now, I'm not a party. This is not a party policy. But when I get to Wellington, I will make a few speeches on this, because it does not make sense. Our kids are getting addicted to nicotine, and it's going to ruin their lives just as much as tobacco does. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Christine, what box number?
Me again. Number Rua 2.
We have question K for kilo. The question reads, the statement, opposition parties do not win elections, governments lose them. Do you agree or disagree with this statement?
Well, if we look at the evidence, apart from this current Labour government, the previous governments of John Key, they were elected 3 times. They were in office 3 governments. And previous to that, we had Helen Clark's government, who also was in government for 3 times. So based on the evidence, it appears no, apart from this current Labour government, which I think is more about competence or lack of it.
Okay, Larry, what box number?
9, Iwa, please.
We have question L, Lima. So this question reads, with the downturn in the economy, many small businesses are struggling to stay afloat. Has your party, or you, Larry, got any policies that would assist them through these tough times?
This is where I have to say that as an independent candidate, I am not aiming to be in the government. I may support the parties that are forming government, and therefore it's not easy for me to respond to a question like that. Of course, we want to help our businesses, and I will support. I'll give supply and confidence in an agreement if I was in Parliament and needed to be used to form a government. I'd give supply and confidence to a party making real support for them. But it's just, I'm focused on Tauranga. I will do what I can to help businesses here, and I think primarily that is by getting our transportation network running properly and housing for families, because that's an important part of businesses as well. So that's my question, my answer for now. Thanks.
And we have a button from Christine.
All right. Well, ACT really supports small businesses. They're like the backbone of our country, along with farming. And this current government has really pretty much put so much red tape and bureaucracy on them. I'm a small business owner. There's so many taxes. There's so many hidden taxes. There's so much paperwork that it's just so difficult for us to focus on getting to actually running the business and contributing to the services and products we want to provide. One of the things that ACT would do is bring back 90-day trials so that small businesses can take a risk on employing people and also have the opportunity to employ more people. And the other area that we want to do is less government so that businesses can get on with what they're doing.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go the opposite in here and go for 26. Thank you. Thanks. In the bag.
We have question W for whiskey. The question reads, what MP in the current Parliament, not a party leader, do you admire and why?
Well, I've thought long and hard with this one, and I've come to the conclusion that there is no party leader that I admire within that current Parliament. Basically because at a time where people were looking for a voice at Parliament, at the stand in Parliament, none of the 120 MPs came out and voiced their support or even came out to listen to the people who were based down there at the Parliament stand. So none of them inspire me, none of them am I admired by. So that's my answer.
Okay, Christine, what box number?
Me again. Number 10, please.
We have N for November. The question reads, what is your stance on the export of live animals?
We would, the ACT Party supports this as long as it is done with conditions to safeguard the welfare of the animals.
Okay, Larry, what box number?
I think I might go for my age this time. 24.
How many times over?
Oh, well, yeah. I've had that 24th birthday a few times.
We have question M for Mike, and the question reads, so the question reads, given the option, would you double or halve our population growth?
What we need in this country is actually a population strategy going forward. We leave it to politicians every 3 years to muck around with immigration and make it more difficult for the Ministry of Immigration to do their job. We need to have a 30-year, 50-year strategy on this, decide as a country how many we want, and then how we're going to get them. We are going to struggle, I think, in the future. Not right now, it's still an attractive place to come. But in time, most nations in the world are going to be reducing in population because we're not having the replacement birth rates. And that's when we need to be thinking about how we attract the people here we want and how many we want. These are big questions, and we should not be doing it short term like we are right now. We have the doors open, everybody floods in, then we shut them for a while, and we open them up again. And the poor immigrants coming, who we really desperately need, you know, our health system would collapse without Filipinos right now. We don't treat them properly when they do come. They have to wait to qualify and all the rest of the things that we hear about. So we need to deal with this in a 30, 50-year time frame. Thank you.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go for my age, or the ones Leagues 11.
So how many of those, how many 11 birthday cards have you got?
Times 4.
We have question A for Alpha. And the question reads, over the past few years, New Zealand has suffered from many forms of division. How would your party reconnect people and heal the divide so that we are a united country once again?
Well, first and foremost, it will never happen with race-based politics, with race-based parties. Secondly, in the wiser words, all right. So First and foremost, it will not happen with race-based policies or race-based politics. Secondly, in the wise words of my grandmother, she said that there are two sides to every coin, and the value of each side is the same. So each side makes up the value of their coin, which in relation to Māori and Pākehā, which is the two races that create the treaty here in New Zealand, that there is no one greater than the other. That's what I believe, and that's what Vision New Zealand believes, that in order for our future to be bright and great, we need to not only work together, but also find great leaders who are respected and can work with the people to bring the people from a bound to history to move forward into the future.
And I think we've discovered our sound buzzer thanks to that technical glitch. Christine, what box number?
Well, since the other candidates are choosing their age, I will choose mine, 21. Yay.
I remember giving my grandma her 4th 21st birthday card, and she absolutely cracked up laughing getting it.
We have question number AA, Alpha Alpha. So the question reads, what would your party do about regulating the introduction of artificial intelligence?
Wow, I think the horses actually bolted out of this one because I asked ChatGPT and it came up with a whole thesis for me, talking about the pros and cons of whether we should legislate and warning against the dangers of potential overuse of artificial intelligence, including unforeseen dangers. But also it gave me the alternate side as to maybe the reasons we should regulate, which is around privacy and overreach of artificial intelligence. Look, ACT is a party of less regulation, so we're saying we need to allow things to run its course. We don't have an official policy on that, but one of our candidates is actually a AI specialist, and so this is I'm going to leave that open. So we're saying we're going to leave it until, you know, AI, well, we've already got AI in our communities.
Would you be able to name the candidate who is the AI specialist for the viewers at home who may not know?
She is Antonio. She's number 13, 14 on our party list, and she's a patent attorney.
Which electorate is she standing in electorate?
She's standing up in Auckland.
Okay.
Maybe some candidates are ChatGPTs.
ChatGPT produced.
Could be.
Okay. Larry, what box number?
Oh, 22. 22, please. Te Kamarua.
We have U for uniform. And the question reads, how will you ensure all Kona that students can succeed at school?
Well, it's the education area is another one of the areas like health, like roads in our country that need a huge financial boost. Of course, there are many different needs amongst students at school. Too often in the lower decile schools, we need to see more social workers in school. We need, as I said before, with housing, to see more stability in families' lives so children aren't shopping from schools. There's many things, but again, we get politicians saying they'll change the curriculum and they want to go back to this and they want to start that. And it is becoming very difficult for teachers to know what on earth they're teaching them and what method they're using and so on. And I think parents as first teachers is a principle we need to establish in this country. And they need to be involved in the education of their children and work with teachers. I think there's become a bit of a divide in that area, and I think it needs to be stopped.
And Leon's got a button card.
I think first and foremost, you're right, Larry, that everything starts within the home, especially education. But also within our current education system, it's a one-size-fits-all, and you have so many students that are dropping out because it seems that because they don't fit into the so-called education system, they are labelled as either being dumb or not brainy enough to be able to succeed. So I created a mentoring program for this very reason that would catch these young people and take them to a place where their skills and their talents were magnified, rather than them being told that they were not successful or they didn't fit within the current curriculum. So I believe that there needs to be other programs, mentoring programs that are there for every case or every learning level.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go for, I've had good success down this end, so I'll go for 27. Let's go 27.
We have question O for Oscar. And the question reads, do you support the right to women's safe, legal and timely access to abortion in New Zealand?
Well, Vision New Zealand, we do not support. We will repeal the Abortion Legislation Act in its entirety, whilst establishing equal protection rights for both the mother, the fetus, the embryo and the child. At the same time, we will also be creating an agency called Mana Wahine, which will be there to support both the mum or the woman through the pregnancy right up until the child's birth. And in that will be the support from the Mana Wahine agency that will give a mum the option of whether they would want to hold on to the child or if they would choose to adopt the child. And we would have that agency there to support the mum right through that. So that's our stance.
Want to ask, what is the replacement for the legislation on abortion?
What is the...
Like, what are you going to be replacing it with?
Well, we don't believe in the legislation itself.
Yes, but would you write something more appropriate?
Yeah, well, I suppose we will review that legislation, and yes, we will have something in accordance to what I've just said that will relate more to the option of not just the abortion option, but also having the options of adoption as well within that.
Okay. Christine, what box number?
Okay, well, I can see 23 there.
So we have question Q for Quebec. The question reads, what is your policy on tackling New Zealand's obesity problem?
All right. Well, back to personal responsibility and education and choices around healthy eating. And also encourage Sport New Zealand to keep encouraging people to do physical exercise in whatever means they can. As a fitness instructor myself, I know that we don't want to like legislate and tell people what to do. So really people need to take responsibility for their own health and well-being. And that is around like having family support, friend support, and a healthy lifestyle choices.
And we've got Larry with a button card.
Yeah, we have to introduce a sugar tax in this country. The rest of the world has been trialing it for us, and it is working very well. The amount of sugar children are consuming is insane, not to mention adults. And whilst it's not easy to, the tax won't necessarily stop it all, it will affect behaviour. It's like cigarettes. We know cigarettes are bad for you, so we tax them to billy-o. Still people smoke. Sugar is the same. If we allow it to be like it is now, I see children sucking on a Coke bottle in there with a, it's just nuts. Sugar is the new tobacco, and it is causing huge health issues for us. Not just obesity, but there are other things it does. But the health system is burdened by all of this, and we need to take the tax on it could be used to prop up the health system, really. It's just we're too timid about doing things. It's obvious to the rest of the world we should do it here as well.
It sounds like you need to make contact with Martin Jenkins on his sugar petition.
Pardon?
You need to make contact with Martin Jenkins on his sugar petition.
Well, when I get down there, he can come and see me. That'd be good. I've done a petition before, 400,000 signatures.
Okay,
I
Leon.
remember.
I'll go for Te Kaumatahi, number 12. Rua.
Yeah, that sounds a bit better. So you've already done Te Kaumatahi.
I know. My memory.
We have question letter J for Juliet. And the question reads, the future of local government report says the current local government funding and finance system is already under pressure and is not sustainable. How is your party going to respond to this issue?
Well, I'd like to think that I am the first at doing something, so I'm going to do the defer card to Larry.
Being
Thank
a
you.
local
I can save my
councillor.
button card then, can't I? Yes, I have had a bit of experience with this, and it's correct. It is broken. We're one of the few countries where the only revenue source local government has is taxing rates on property. Most countries, America, Australia, and so on, the local government can have sales taxes and things like that. In New Zealand, we have GST. I really think it would be a good idea if government shared some of that with local authorities, so that we had a steady income stream. The problem is that central government don't trust local government politicians. They think we waste more money than they do, and that's a joke, isn't it, really? So yes, it does need reform. I've got ideas about it, no policy because I am an independent, but yes, send me to Wellington and I'll stand up and make some good suggestions about what we need to do. I'd love to get onto a committee to reform local government as well, not just the financing, but we should not have 3 councils in this area. It's just not necessary. We're electing 30 politicians.
I mean, something that we could ask of all of them, is it time to split the regional council and the city council elections?
No, it's time to get rid of the regional councils.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't
Less-
need 3
less-
levels of government in this country.
Less elections, not more.
Yeah, no, something I've always experienced was that how you meant to know all these candidates in local bodies when you got so many elections, and how do you get good quality candidates when you can only stand in one of the areas. If they overlap each other, you can only stand in one council. You cannot stand for, say, I'm going to stand for the Tauranga City Council and I'll stand for the Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Yeah.
I mean, this is if we can elaborate a little bit,
Go ahead.
there are places in this country that have a unitary council, Nelson, Gisborne, so on. They only have one council that performs all the functions of regional and city. Why do we need to have this going on? And here it's a real problem because the regional council has the 54% share in the port with all the money. Look, I was hoping Labor were going to get this reform done before the election. Somebody needs to pick it up and carry on with it. Let communities decide how big their councils are, but we could be doing 20, 25 councils in this country, and it would work a lot better. I had 2 goes at that, didn't I? I'm sorry.
It's all right. Yeah. And I think you've got the next box number, Larry. Or is it Christine?
sorry.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
It's Christine.
Is it my
Okay.
turn?
No, that's
All
fine. I
right.
screwed up.
Number 6, please.
We have question X for X-ray. And the question reads, tell us 3 words that sum up for you Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Oh, I've got short answers. Can I bank some time? Anyway, the 3 words for Aotearoa New Zealand is beautiful, inclusive, and potential.
And we've got a button. Leon.
3 words, time for change.
Very short, sharp, and sweet. Okay, Larry, what box number?
We'll knock off 28 down here at this end. Be good.
And we have question why. Why for Yankee? The question reads, John F. Kennedy quote, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Do you agree with that quote and why?
It's a pretty good quote. And all of us need to participate in healing our nation. All of us need to participate in doing things that we need to responsibly do in the environment. You know, the climate change question comes up a lot. I drive a 2014 Prius plug-in hybrid. I've got solar panels on the roof. We've all got to do our part in all of that. So it's not a bad quote, but sometimes it's a bit cliche-ish, you know. We do live in a great country. We see it deteriorating. We see problems coming, and we have to take responsibility in our communities, in our families, to try and bring that back into line. It's why we took so much time, my wife and I, to take a petition around the country to oppose that anti-smacking law that came in. It was just nuts. The whole country was going berserk about it. We had the referendum. 87% said no, it shouldn't be a criminal offence, and the government ignored it. What kind of democracy have we got? So we have to take initiative sometimes for big issues.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go for number 3, Toru.
We have question G. G for golf. And the question reads, do you think New Zealand has coped well with the COVID-19 pandemic? And what lessons have we learnt?
Well, I'm glad I've got this question. It all depends on obviously what viewpoint you look at this from. From our viewpoint as Vision New Zealand, I don't believe, or we don't believe, that the COVID-19 pandemic was done well. First and foremost, the lockdowns were unnecessary. They put strain and pressure upon local businesses and smaller businesses. Also, the mental state of so many individuals throughout the lockdowns also increased, and the unnecessary mandates that were put upon Kiwis, I believe, caused so much division, not only in our nation, but also between family members. And also the mandates, they were not a choice. There was an ultimatum that many had to take the vaccination for the very reason of keeping their jobs or even keeping their houses. So we certainly do not believe that it was run well.
Well said.
I want to ask, do you think some people enjoyed the pleasure of being able to go, vaccine pass? Because that's something I noticed. Some people, like my business, I run a coffee cart. I can't fit 100 people in a 2x3 meter thing, but people threatened to boycott my business because I wouldn't do vaccine passes because it was a waste of time.
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of crazy behaviour that made people just crazy behaviour.
Yeah. Okay. It's Christine. What box number?
Again, Fetu, please. 7.
We have question T. T for Tango. And the question reads, even though our state highways are managed by Waka Kotahi, that is the New Zealand Transport Agency, should district councils and residents have the final say on the speed limits that they have imposed?
well, once again, it's time bank for later. Yes, people who are like in the local areas are driving on the local roads. So yes, I think they should have input into the speed limits around where they're living and driving.
What
So yes,
What is the speed limit for Pies Pa Road / Tauranga, I should say it rightly, direct road? Is that still 100 pretty much as soon as you leave Ngangataha, or has that been lowered? I haven't driven on it for years.
I can ask a friend who drives that road quite often, Martin, my colleague, and
Right through the Mangapori Gorge. Okay, and for those at home, there is roadwork speed restrictions, but as from what's been said, you can still drive at a speed limit of 100 kilometres an hour through the Mangapori Gorge, which, to be honest, is possibly one that could actually be lowered under that recommendation. But hey, you know, what do you expect from Wakakotahi? You know, when common sense sometimes applies, it sometimes goes out the window. Okay, Larry, what box number?
19, please, to go iwa.
We have question P for Papa. The question reads, what will happen to the winter energy payment if your party is elected to govern? So seeing you are not part of a party, what's your personal opinion about the winter energy payment continuing or not continuing?
Okay. It's awful looking here on the screen. I know why my wife tells me to always smile and why some people say I have a really angry face. It's terrible. The winter energy payment has been a great initiative. We have a lady who's a tenant in our little flat in our house, and she passes it on to me because I give her a heat pump so she can stay warm all winter. It makes a big difference. Power bills go up in the winter, and I think we should maintain that. What we should be doing is subsidising or having an interest-free loan for more houses to get solar panels on with batteries, so that we can say there's a great example here in Aotearoa block, I believe, where their power bills are just zoomp down as they've installed that. We've got so much great sun. We want to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels, so why not government come in with that scheme? Why the ANZ Bank doing it? And then you have to pay it off in 3 or 5 years. It should be a much longer term at no interest. And then we'd see more solar powered energy, which will get us through winter as well, I think.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go for number 8, Waru.
We have question E for Echo. Another local government question. The future of government, the local government report say a significant fund is also needed to support climate change adaptation activities. How is your party going to respond to this issue?
Vision New Zealand, we favour a sustainable, incentivised approach to harvesting our natural resources. Also, we also believe in a zero plastic New Zealand, as well as we refute the carbon and climate argument and believe that carbon is essential for life itself.
Christine, what box number?
I will choose 5, please.
We have question letter B for Bravo. The question reads, do you believe that 16-year-olds have the maturity to vote?
In my martial arts, I teach a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds, and I've been asking them this very question: do you think you should get the vote? And most of them have said, no, don't think so. And to be fair, they've got lots of other things on their mind and different priorities rather than thinking about what or who to vote for. So that is a no.
Should all 16 and 17-year-olds should watch this episode of It's in the Ballot?
Yes, they should, to prepare themselves for when they turn 18.
Larry, what box number?
Number 20, please.
We have question V for Victor. What is your party's position on local government rating reform? And I'll do it again. What is your party's position on how local government rating reform should be delivered?
It's a little confusing, that question. I looked at it earlier, and rating reform, if you're talking about whether it's based on land value or capital value, if that's the reform you're talking about, it's left up to councils to decide how they rate. So it's hard to answer that. If you're talking about rating reform in terms of income, which it goes back to the question we had earlier, where councils need more income than just rates on property owners. So it's a little bit hard to answer that one, unless someone's got a better understanding of what you're aiming at in your question there. I have to leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay.
As one of the question committee, I will change that question.
Including the value of your house with the land, I think makes sense. And Tauranga has done that. And I think that's the best way to do it. But yeah, it's a little bit hard.
I think the issue is that the system's broken. So
Yeah.
how are we going to reform
The whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Leon, what box number?
I'll go for my oldest child's age, 17.
We have question D for Delta. Will your party review the relationships and sexuality education in primary schools?
That's an absolute yes. Basically because the RSE and the content within the RSE is absolutely disgusting. After reviewing it and reading through it, I believe that the content is inappropriate, and also let teachers teach the 1, 2, 3s and the ABCs rather than the birds and the bees. I believe that's a place for parents, that's a place for homes, because that's where obviously morals and values are most established, is within the homes, and I believe that's what this comes under. And I do believe that there is a sexualisation agenda to this curriculum, and Vision New Zealand certainly won't, or will definitely be reviewing that. So, kia ora.
Christine, what box number?
Number 15, please.
Question C for Charlie. How are you going to address the cost of living crisis?
All right. So ACT wants to get the economy stronger by cutting bureaucracy and slashing red tape. We also want to get the interest rates under control. We have a policy to reduce the amount of government spending that's just been wasted and is really sloshing around the economy, just fueling the cost of living crisis. Yeah. So yes, those are the things. We also want to improve the housing supply so that rentals or the cost of housing can be reduced so that it becomes more affordable.
Okay, Larry, what box number?
I think I'll take a lead from Leon. I'll have 16, the age of one of my 10 grandchildren.
We have question R for Romeo. What do you consider the critical impacts will be for a race-based policy that prioritises some ethnic groups for medical procedures over others?
There's been a few strange words emerge in our conversation in New Zealand in the last few years, one of them being co-governance, which is not well understood by most people, never really clearly defined, and so it's caused a lot of angst. I can't see any problem with Maori Health Authority doing health for Maori by Maori. And I don't see that as a racial divide. I just see it as something that's been asked for a long time. We haven't done too well when we did it all as one. And there are other things like Maori seats on councils and things like that, which have now come into our country and have not done any great damage. I've supported them in Tauranga City Council. We react to things so badly sometimes, and we don't realise that actually the country is coming together, I think. But it's these issues that come up when we don't define things properly and we get separated.
Okay, Leon, what box number?
I'll go for number 4.
We have question I for India. Government spending on cycling and cycleways a waste of money?
That's a big absolute yes from a motorbike and car enthusiast. But I do believe that it's definitely spending that is wasted.
But we've got a button from Larry.
Yeah, I'm not going to get another question, so I might as well use my button. Look, cycleways are great, and Tauranga has a really good network and needs to be constantly expanding it because there are people who enjoy it recreationally, and it's good for us for health and so on. But I think that money we take off our fuel taxes getting diverted into that is really questionable until we see more people using it as a commuter way. And I just don't think we make much progress there. We've spent a lot of money in Tauranga with cycle lanes, and we still don't see many people riding their bikes there for the purpose of getting out of their car and so on. In a perfect world, maybe we could see more of that happen, but on a fine day, you might ride your bike. As soon as it rains, you're going to get in your car and go. So I think we should spend money on it, but it's got to be kept in proportion to the needs of our road network and our bus lanes and all that sort of thing too.
Okay, Christine's also got a button.
That's right. It's way out of proportion, and that's what we've seen from this government. Inportionate and wrongly prioritised spending. Agree with Leon. I agree with Larry on this issue. How can we all be agreed that we've wasted too much money on cycleways because we always get 4 seasons in one day? And I just wish they would, well, it's too late now, isn't it? So I just wish they would hurry up and finish it off and take away the road cones.
Can anyone ride their bikes on a safe protected cycleway to any of the high schools in the district? Or
Pardon?
Can anyone ride to the local high schools?
Well, look, when I was a boy, I rode my bike from Gate Park to Boys College, right?
Yep.
Till I could get a scooter. And there was an off-road cycle path, but it was still not safe because you came to Erie Avenue, you had to cross that road, see? And that's the problem with Cameron Road. It's impossible to really make it safe all the way down because you're passing about 23 streets as you go down, and you can't put traffic lights on every one of those to give priority to cycle lanes. It's just the wrong place to be doing it. But we got $45 million from the government for doing Cameron Road, and cycle lanes had to be part of that, and that's okay. Because really the big advantage in Cameron Road is all the new pipes that are going in, which are going to service all the housing on the side of it. That's why it's taken so long, folks. and we do complain about it a lot. But it's about to come right with the roads. You know, the ceiling is nearly finished. The cones are going to go. But it just is the wrong place for a commuter cycle lane, really. It needs to be off-road, way away from the road. You could do it down through the valley, which I've talked about at council quite a few times. And then it would have been great, you know. So it is what it is.
Should have listened to Larry.
Okay. Last box, Christine. What?
Lucky number, last one. I'll take that last box. Thank you.
I got it prepared for you. And we have Z for Zulu. What role should New Zealand play in international refugee crises?
New Zealand should do its part in proportion to it being a first world country and a country of 5.1 million people.
We got a button.
I believe, yes, agree with that, Christine. It has to be a limited approach right now because although refugees in other countries are finding it hard or going through a hardship in their own countries, we actually in our own country are battling with our own issues locally. And I believe that if we actually opened our eyes as New Zealanders, we'll actually see that there are places or people that are struggling within our own nation. I believe we need to look after our own backyard right now in a nation that I believe we are overseeing homeless people in our city of Tauranga. There is an increase in homelessness within our city. So, you know, why do we have to take on refugees when we've got really refugees in our own country, from our own country? So
looks like we've exhausted our questions. Now we're only a little bit over time, but we got some decent quality answers out of it, so it was definitely all worth it. We'll be taking a break now and see you back in 10 minutes time. So we're going to show you a bit of highlights from our previous show during the break, so we get the candidates here stretch and a yak, and we'll see you back here for hard-hitting questions. And welcome back. Now it's time to get ready for hard-hitting questions. Okay, so hard-hitting questions are those questions that we get all candidates to answer. Now, the great news is they cannot use their deferred cards, they cannot use their button cards because, well, who are they going to defer it to? The candidates who are already answering it? Who are they going to button for? The candidates who are already answering it. So hard-hitting question number one. What do you believe is the most pressing issue in the Tauranga Electorate currently? Let's kick off with Larry.
Well, I've said it on my brochure, roading, transportation network, which includes cycleways and buses, but it is the number one issue because it's holding up land supply as well for housing. The State Highway 29 coming over the Kaimais and coming through Erika and then down into heading to the port, and 29A going around to Bay Park. That was meant to be done years ago. When I worked on it when I was in Parliament 20 years ago. And it's just got to be done sooner than 2035. That's what the National Party's promising now. 12 years we'll wait for that. Because it's holding up the unlocking of the housing at Erika, 3,000 houses. It's going to be fixed by a roundabout at Redwood Lane, but it's going to mean another 3,000 houses go onto that road coming through Erika. Have you seen it back up there? It's shocking. Also Hewlett's Road, that when they fix B2B, it's just going to shift all that down to Hewlett's Road. We're going to go through all those traffic lights.
Thank you. Christine.
I agree with Larry. We need to finish the roading projects and get moving on some of the others to get our city moving again. And look, it's been a bit too late to say no to cycle lanes, but I think we need to say no to central city parking meters. And the other thing is we need to have local democracy back so that we've got elected councillors making plans for the future who listen to the ratepayers about what they do want or what their priorities are, because I'm hearing don't up the stadium, keep the sports facilities there, and we don't need a boutique stadium, and it doesn't make sense ripping up Bay Park Speedway either. And more police on the beat. We want to see police back so that we can keep our retailers and citizens safe.
Leon.
I totally agree that our roading structure is infrastructure is just absolutely holding everything back. I also believe that the affordability of homes is another big issue here in Tauranga, and many families and many people are finding it hard to, one, buy a home, or even two, to find a rental property within this. Now, we can change all the roading structure if we want, but if people are being houseless, then really there's no real, I suppose, way forward if we don't have the affordability of homes within Tauranga. I do believe also that yes, democracy needs to be brought back into our local council, and elect a local council that is from Tauranga, by Tauranga.
Well, that's quite universal about restoring local democracy. Completely, and yes, this is actually the only electorate that we've got a council that is being run by a bunch of commissioners. Okay, so let's get to hard-hitting question number 2. Central government increasingly communicates with citizens via emails and texts. Therefore, the non-computer literate visit libraries for assistance. Changes to central government practices and legislation impacts local communities, which councils are expected to deliver without funding. Do you believe that central government should form a partnership with councils to deliver central government services? If so, how should these partnerships be funded? Let's kick off with Christine.
Yes, so this question is really asking about the intersect between local government and central government. So when central government is passing the buck and putting their making local councils deliver some of their central services, then yes, I think there should be some partnership funding into that. Otherwise, the ratepayers are paying twice, once through their taxes and another time through their rates. So ACT says we should, if it's for things like infrastructure, ACT says we should share the GST on new building projects so that the council does have a pot of money to provide that infrastructure for new housing and new builds. And the other area is there are some areas such as the postal services. So central government makes partners with independent businesses to deliver that. So I think we can also look at private-public equity partnerships as well.
And I certainly hope that there's more places that you can buy car rego, because as personally here, yes, I'm from Wellington, I cannot buy car rego in the Rongotai electorate. I have to sit down there and cross the electoral boundary in Adelaide Road to Wellington Central electorate to buy my car rego. And it has been confirmed I probably might have better luck buying it in the electorate if I went to the Chathams. Okay. Leon, what your answer?
Yeah, obviously, totally agree with Christine that there should be a partnership between central government and local council or local government, based upon the fact that whatever starts at the top always flows down to the bottom. And so I believe that central government, when they make policies and legislations that affect local government, then really there should be funding that goes towards infrastructure, that also goes towards essential services, and also community services that are impacted by decisions not just on a local level but on a central level, central government level. So we certainly, as Vision New Zealand, back the idea that there needs to be a partnership between central government and local government when it comes to funding.
And Larry.
Yes, there's sort of two parts to that question, but definitely there should be a partnership between local government and central government. That's why Tauranga needs to send me there, because I've got all this local body experience. I can go down there and build this bridge between us. It takes that. It's not just theories. It actually takes people that understand both sides to bring about some cooperation. It is true that central government often tells local government what to do and doesn't give them the funding to do it, and they impose more and more things on us. But the issue of government services being provided by local government, I would not be that in favour of. I think you see overseas jurisdictions where they run the police force, where they run the fire department, and that's not something I think we would want to see in New Zealand. I mean, there are some little issues that maybe we could pick up and help with, but we really do need the funding when they tell us do this, do that, and more cost. That's why the GST thing comes into play. We should get a share of that GST.
I feel someone has had a sneak read at my submission on the annual plan for the Wellington City Council, and it mentioned the same thing, GST sharing. So, yes, you feel free.
Great minds think alike.
Lots of people in favour of that policy.
Yes, and for a Labour Green heavily controlled council, they were actually in favour of that particular part of the submission, and the other submission they were very heavily in favour of was the bus lane fine enforcement, which in Wellington could net a 2.5% rate decrease by doing that. And yes, do not drive in the bus lane. They're there for a reason. And yes, I was wondering where they could have clocked up, I think it was $2,500 in 10 minutes, which just tells you how many people were flouting the rules. But I think they're a bit better now. Okay, now here's the time for my favourite part of the show. What will be your first members' bill you put into the biscuit tin, as they call it, or should we say, into the ballot? So let's kick off with Larry. What would be your first members' bill?
Well, I did make a commitment at the meeting with the Retirement Village Association that if they needed somebody to do the reform to the current Act, I would be willing to do a private members' bill for that purpose. And so I have made a commitment. I have to wait and see whether the reform process that's underway is handled by the government and they get what they need to address some of the inequities and the rip-offs occurring through the way they operate. I have other ideas for private members' bills, but also for local bills. We haven't had a local bill for a long, long time. There is a possibility for local government to draft a bill and then they look to their local MP to take it to Wellington and take it through. And I think such things as local government reform for our area might be something that both the Tauranga City Council and the Western Bay Council might like to consider, and I would certainly be keen to work with them on those issues too. God, do we get 2 minutes?
Yeah, you get 2 minutes.
Oh, I just saw it flicked up again. I see. Oh. No, it's okay. I'll give you enough.
Okay, Christine.
Well, we're a party that says more thinking, less tinkering. So I am passionate about education, education, education. But in that area, we want to do less. So that means like less bureaucracy and let the teachers do more. I agree with Leon's point that a one size does not fit all. And David Seymour, as the sole Pāti MP in his day championed charter schools. So we would bring back what we call a partnership school, so that it would allow specific similar things to character schools. So it would bring back all different education systems, so that people who doesn't fit into the national schooling system have a alternative choice for their education. So education, education, and less is more.
Just before we move over, could that also be done within the schools? Because I do know that the local primary school in my area, Newtown School, does have a Māori-focused class, and it ironically has a waiting list to get into it. But would that be something that could focus, say, if you have a good proportion of, say, autistic children who have a different learning style, could that be something to be also help funded within, say, a school? Because some areas you may not have the resources to justify, say, 10 schools to do these different things, but you might be able to do that all under one or two schools in the same premises.
Yeah, I think we need to look at flexible solutions for the problems that are arising, and certainly I think we're a party that is about common sense and practical approaches rather than centralised bureaucracy on what needs to be done or what can't be done. So that's certainly a great model to explore.
Okay, and Leon. Oh, get the clapping. I love this audience. We don't need to put a clap track in.
For Vision New Zealand, we will enshrine the Bill of Rights Act as supreme law, namely because the way in which this Labour government had pushed overnight in the midnight hour so many legislations and laws that took away the freedoms and the rights of so many New Zealanders that were obviously crying out for just their voice to be heard, for their rights to be heard. And I believe that by doing this, we will protect the freedoms and the rights of every Kiwi. It's not just one or two, but every Kiwi will be under this if we enshrine the Bill of Rights Act as supreme law.
Can we have our other minute back?
Yes, I know you've been very short, and thanks for not. Now, Leon doesn't know this, but at the Wellington Central show, I did sit there and mention, because it was the third Vision candidate that had the same members' bill. And thank you for doing something that is actually different. Patrick Lim for Aotearoa did do something different, but I didn't say a thing. And thank goodness it wasn't a parenting rights bill. I love that about the enshrining the Bill of Rights into legislation and into as supreme law. And interesting, it brought up the Bill of Rights was about voting at 16 was one of the things declared inconsistent using the Bill of Rights legislation. And also the other unique thing was in the original Bill of Rights, from the 1990, is it 1993 the legislation was passed? Correct me if I get the year wrong, but it also established those serving a prison sentence 3 years or less had the right to vote. So it was something in there. So there was some very interesting bits that were in the legislation that was brought in under the Bill of Rights. Okay, now time for closing statements. We're going to let the candidates choose. Who would like to go first for their closing statement?
I'll go.
Okay.
Look, Tauranga, I guess we're watching all over the country, but to the people maybe watching from Tauranga, let's do it. Let's elect an independent electorate MP to break this cycle of the party domination in the country. I believe I'm the best one right now with the experience I've had to represent our city. So I'm asking you, when you vote, maybe on Monday, maybe at polling day, my name's going to be at the top of the ballot paper. I'm only asking you for one vote, not two. You can party vote how you like, but there's only really three of us in this race to try and have the candidate vote. Jan Tinetti, who's already going back to Parliament because she's number 6 on the list. And Sam Uffindell for National, who I don't believe is going to represent us with the strength in the National Party at number 57 on their list. So I'm asking you to take a chance, give me your candidate vote, and I will work hard for you. I will do everything I can to do the things that address the needs of our great city. And that's all you've got to do. Use that one vote and send me to work. Thank you.
So who's one goes next? Rock, paper, scissors? This is what I love. Community style, you know, progressive.
Well, Tauranga, there is no greater time than this present time. With this up and coming election, I believe is the most important election for the future of our country. And I believe that the country that I lived in and grew up in is not the same country. I believe that the country that I grew up in was a country that was fought for by my ancestors, by our forebearers, a country they fought for both God, King, and for country. And I believe that they fought also and upheld the very morals and values that I believe are in decline within our nation. Tauranga, if you are wanting an MP that has not only the ability to be able to lift moral values, but also to be a voice for you. Tauranga, your voice or your vote is going to be your voice. Let me be your voice for this up and coming election and onwards, because I'll be that one that not only makes your voice be heard, but also put it into action. Vote Leon for Tauranga and vote Freedom New Zealand Party.
Okay, Christine.
Well, like the candidates before me, I believe that this election, your vote has never been more important. We need to bring this country back together. This isn't the country that I grew up in either. And I see so much potential and so much possibilities for New Zealanders to live well, to prosper. At the end of the day, your vote should be based on your values. And the party, you should choose the party which best aligns with your values. ACT stands for common sense, personal freedoms, personal responsibilities, and less government interference into our lives. Now, New Zealand is at a crossroads, and I'm asking for your vote because I believe there needs to be tougher consequences for criminal offending, and that includes youth offending as well. And if you give your party vote, like Larry, I'm asking for one vote, your party vote to ACT, so that I can represent you as your voice in Parliament. Thank you.
And I'd love to go to the list of the candidates who aren't here to get that, but I think given crickets and a stereo camera and an empty seat is not going to help the Tauranga voters on who to vote for. They've got three brilliant options here tonight. Let's sit there and give them a big round of applause for attending. Okay, so tomorrow we will be heading over the Kaimai Ranges to that lovely city called Hamilton, where we'll be having both Hamilton East and Hamilton West Electorate, while also allowing candidates of all races, including those who are Māori, to be participating. Sorry, had to sit there and re-mention that. And it will be happening at the All Saints Community Church, which is in the Hamilton West Electorate, but we did it there for the by-election, and we're very happy to be back there tomorrow night. And I also have to thank Tony, the same friend who is going to let us stay at his place for the weekend again. So go for that. Can I thank Nick, Alex, and Jill, who helped keep the show afloat here in studio. Can I also thank Stacey for doing the same with remote editing from Wellington. It's quite a bit of a task there, and she's the one who's putting all the stuff that appears across the bottom of the screen. And thank you to the audience for giving us a very good, night out? And thank you for not letting us need to have a clap track on every candidate, which we've never used. But hey, at least we know we didn't need one tonight. So let's, we'll see you all back here tomorrow at the All Saints Community Church at 4 p.m. for the Hamilton East Electorate, and then back again at 7 p.m. for the Hamilton West Electorate. See you all tomorrow. Good night.